feels like country when you travel outside of Quebec. Today, I am going to give you a talk on depression and the teenager. Unfortunately, I prepared a rather comprehensive presentation, but I understand there are a number of unexpected events that are going to take place today, which makes it less than auspicious for me to present the whole presentation. And I hope that I will get a chance to do that again, because depression among teenagers is a very, very serious thing. And we in the church and in our country in general, we don't give it the attention that it's due. Only this week, I was forced to see someone, a young lady, who has having some challenges in that area. So I know that it's very important, but unfortunately, some of these things we don't give them the kind of attention that they're due. We tend to focus so much on our physical disabilities that we ignore the other aspects of ourselves, i.e. the physical, the spiritual, and the psychological. Anyway, we're going to have a talk about teenagers and depression. It's up, so can you just run the slide? I will speak from the slide rather than that. Okay. So what is depression? Now, the interesting thing about, you can read it while I speak. The interesting thing about depression is that very often people say, you know, I feel depressed. You've heard that before? Yes. But they don't really mean that they are suffering from depression. So they use the term very loosely to mean that they are not feeling well, or they're in a sad mood, or, you know, they don't feel very energetic. So they use the term loosely. However, depression is a clinically designed terminology. So if you went to the doctor and you said, you know, doctor, I'm feeling depressed, a light bulb goes on in his head, and he thinks, well, let me ask you 10 questions. And if you say yes to 6 of them, then you're depressed and you're likely to get some medication. So you need to be very careful how you use this word depression. But depression is more than just than feeling upset or sad. It's a serious condition which makes coping with day-to-day life to be hard, and it leaves you feeling down most of the time. So you tend to feel irritable and stressed. And you might have feelings of guilt. You might feel worthless. You might feel frustrated. You might feel unhappy. You might feel disappointed. You might feel miserable. So all of these feelings might overwhelm you, and you might, that's what depression is. It's a serious thing. And just to let you know, I'm not going to go into it today because we don't have the time. There are 9 different types of depressions. There's no one, there's something called depression, but there are 9 different versions of it. And the simplest one is what we call climatic depression. And let me give you an example of that, because that's quite easy to understand. Now, in places like England and some other countries in Europe, when winter comes, it gets very dark, it gets very overcast, and at 3 o'clock in the evening, it's like 8 o'clock at night, and it's raining, and you're probably living in a basement apartment, and it's cold, and you don't feel particularly good. So you get up in the morning and go to work, it's dark and wet and cold. You come home in the evening, it's dark and wet and cold. And especially for Caribbean people, it is really quite a serious challenge for the emotions, because you get up in the morning, it's sun, wherever you go is sun, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a part of Canada or Australia or a place like that, where, or even in New York, where the seasons don't quite go with your rhythms. And when you should be feeling sad, you feel, when you should be feeling energetic and joyful, you feel sad, just because of the climatic conditions. And because of the climatic conditions, you overdress to keep warm, you don't go out a lot, and so all of those kinds of outwards and psychological things tend to put you into a different stage of depression. So you got different types of depressions. Unfortunately, we can't go into them today. So just to give you some idea, there is melancholic depression, there is cyclothymic depression, there's major depression, there is, let me just move a bit faster, there's psychotic depression. So there are all of these different types of depressions which you can experience. Seasonal or affective disorder, that's the one I talked about, explained just now. But I want to come to the situation of young people in the church or in the community, for instance. Can you move up to the first cartoon? Just keep going, keep going. That's it, stop there. Okay, so here's our person. I'm not sure the gender of this person. But you would see that there are two faces, right, to this person. Now, we also have something called a smiling depression, where individuals outwardly, they look okay. They're smiling and they, joyful. They seem joyful, and they greet you. And then a week later, you heard that they took their life, or they took an overdose, or they did something wrong to themselves, some harm to themselves. And you wonder, but that's strange. I met her the other day, and she looked so good, and she was so joyful. So when people are depressed, they put on different faces, okay, depending on the situation and it. So here is this our character having two faces and says, no, I am not depressed. But behind the mask, there is a lots of other things going on in that person's life. So it's very common. Depression is pretty common around 1 in 16 young people. 1 in 16 young people aged between 16 to 24 experience condition like depressions. This is equivalent to 180,000 young people, okay? Girls are more likely than boys to get depressed, but boys often think it harder to talk about their feelings and get help. So boys don't come forward. They're not so easy to come and talk about depression. It's just like suicide. More women attempt suicide, but more men commit suicide. You see that? So the women, when they're attempting it, it's all to do to let you know, I need help, come help me, But because men are not very good at talking about their feelings and their emotions, when they decide to do harm to themselves, they do it. So in the world, there are more men that commit suicide than women, even though more women attempt suicide. So I'm just moving along a bit quickly. You need to give me a chance to tell me when. All right. So here's our character. Next slide. Who is so overcome. That's it. She's overcome with clouds of darkness and despair and feeling very pessimistic. Next slide. So adolescents who suffer from chronic illnesses are also suffer from physical illnesses. And sometimes you have a family and there's depression in the family. And between 20 to 50% of teens suffer from depression, have a family member with depression or some other mental disorder. And sometimes you're moving around and you have certain untreatable or untreated mental problems. You might be taking too many tablets, and before you know it, those tablets themselves put you in a state, a mood, a depressive mood. So you need to be very careful how you take medications these days, because this can have some serious consequences. So could you move on to some causes? Now, it's been proposed that in society today, there seems to be more hopelessness and helplessness among teenagers. You know, during my time, teenagers were out and they were playing in the fields, they were doing things. But these days, you often hear teenagers don't know what to do, they're bored, they don't have any design. You ask them, what do you want to do? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. They don't seem to have that kind of focus that teenagers of yesteryear have. Right. So some of the researchers who have looked at these issues says that teens think they are invincible, so when they feel psychological pain, they're more likely to feel overwhelmed by hopelessness and the belief that they have no control over their lives. Next slide. So some experts say that we have raised our children with unrealistic expectations. Think about that. You parents, you give your children some unrealistic expectations, and the same message is perpetually being fed by the media. So the media tells you must always feel good. You must always feel good. You must always feel happy. And that word happy can be very dangerous because you find a lot of teenage or young persons who get married, from the time they don't feel happy, they want to do what? They want to separate. So young people tend to focus a lot on feelings. And feelings can be very deceptive. Very deceptive. So you can't run your life by feelings. And because you don't feel happy, you think that something is wrong. And sometimes you rely on other people to make you feel happy. But you must remember, happiness is a state of mind. It is not what someone do to you or give you. So it's really important. So this expert says, I think modern lifestyles and diet. Look at that. As we know today in the fast food industry, you can get anything, anytime, quickly. I went to one of the fast food change, and I was feeling hungry, so I thought, I like chips, so I thought I'll get some chips. And so I bought these chips, and I started eating, and someone told me to break the chip. And when I broke the chip, it didn't look anything like potato. I don't know what was in it, but it surely wasn't potato. Right? So you need to be very careful when you buy these things. You try it yourselves, and you go to some of these fast food chains, and you buy chips, and you look at the chips. It's crisp on the outside, nicely fried, high heat, and when you break it, try and see if you can find the potato in it. And you will probably earn yourself a prize, you know? And then you also, among young people, there's a lack of exercise. And so because we're not out there in the sunshine a lot and exercising and using our bodies like the way they're created, we tend to experience a lot of feelings of sadness and rejection. You know, I was dealing with a young man who had a tabanka, and because the person that he thought he was in love with fell out of love with him, and therefore he had a challenge, you know. So there are all of these challenges that young people face today, and they're therefore not necessarily well equipped to deal with some of the challenges. So I would advise that change the slide, you must check your young people to see what they're reading, what they're looking at. Don't get them to spend so much time on the computer and all of these different social media like Facebook and Twitter and all of these things. So bring it up to the next cartoon, please. Okay. Thank you. So, you know, you don't want when you see your child not communicating, not chatting, and is becoming very recluse and spend a lot of time in his or her room, it's time for you to start to find out what's happening. I think I'm out of time. I have 5 more minutes? Okay, good. So let's move. Next slide. Okay. Excellent. Right. So what you think, your thinking determines your life. There's a saying that if you change your thinking, you can change your entire life. And very often we don't know that, or we don't really believe it, but it's very true. You know, if you allow negative thoughts to inhabit your mind, if you keep company with negative people, you are in serious trouble. So you need to keep away from it. I have 3 daughters, and I said to them many years ago, if you have a boyfriend and he is negative, could you please don't bring him to the house? You need to leave him outside. You don't want to be mixing up with negative people, because it's like a virus. It infects you, and it damages you. Okay? So you need to watch what you're thinking. It's not uncommon to worry about how depression and anxiety is affecting the people you care about, or that you're a failure, that there's nothing good will ever happen. You know, so sometimes you want to do things, and you have these friends, both female and male, say, no, you can't do it, it's so difficult. And therefore, you don't feel energized to do some of the things. Next slide. So we're going a bit fast because of our time constraint. All right. So here's some common symptoms of depression. That's it. Feelings: you feel overwhelmed, guilty, irritable, frustrated, lacking in confidence, unhappy, indecisive, disappointed, miserable, and sad. But what about your thoughts? Sometimes you say to yourself, I'm a failure. This thing that happened is my fault. And sometimes you feel that nothing good is ever going to happen to you. Sometimes you feel you're worthless. Sometimes you feel that life is not worth living, and that people would be better off without me. So if you have any of your teenagers or your children making these statements, please put up a red flag and start to inquire about what's going on with them. Next slide. Negative thinking and feelings of sadness and worthlessness can mean you lose interest in things you usually enjoy. And then you end up feeling suicidal. Suicidal ideation, that means thoughts, thinking about it, is very, very common among teenagers. Okay? So, okay. So let's move to the next slide, and I'm going to stop at the slide. So sometimes people are thinking about wanting to take their life, and nobody cares about them, and life is not worth living. So I found this cartoon, which was really interesting. It said, if you think nobody cares about that you're alive, just miss a couple of monthly payments. True, isn't it? And someone will be interested in you. Okay, so we're going to pause there for a while and get some questions. Any questions on suicide? There are a couple of roving mics. And at the back, yes.
Okay, I have a question, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Someone who may have experienced a traumatic experience like death or something in their family, or, I mean, we live in a society where murder is impacting homes and families, right?
Yes.
So sometimes we have persons in families who feel as if life cannot go on because of what would have transpired. How do we, as Christians, relate to persons like that in order to lead them to Christ?
Okay. Now, I am trying to combine two critical elements here. When you go to speak to someone who is experiencing an emotional crisis in their life, the first thing that I better tell you what I do rather than what you should do. the first thing I do is I try to deal with what they're experiencing. You understand me? I try to deal with what they're experiencing. In other words, if they have lost a son or they lost a daughter, I try to help them to deal with that, because that's what's uppermost in their minds. Okay? And when I begin to address their personal, immediate issues, then after I have done that and I have expressed empathy, which is really important, and I then would take them to a place where I say to them that in this life, we all experience pain and suffering. Do you know that? There's none of you, I will be so bold as to say that there's none of you sitting in this audience today who has not experienced pain and suffering. Everybody experiences it in varying degrees. So I firstly want them to know that the pain and suffering that they're experiencing is common to man, and that there are situations that we all experience. Secondly, I then express to them the fact that this too passes. Everything that you experience passes. And thirdly, I then introduce to them the fact that there is someone who can offer them comfort and support, and that's where you get him to talk about Jesus Christ, the Comforter, and so on. Very often, and this is my view, when people are suffering from loss, it may be an involuntary abortion, they've lost their baby, or something traumatic has happened to them, we go at them with the Bible, first time. And they think that we are insensitive to what they are experiencing. So in my experience, and I have been doing this for over 40 years, both professionally and non-professionally, it is best to express empathy. Let people know that you understand their pain. And then that creates a kind of bonding. And then when they see that, they're now more receptive to what you're going to say later. But that's my opinion. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sabbath. What you just said here about losing a loved one, and you could be depressed, right? Mm. A year ago, I lost my husband after 45 years. And it was so traumatic because I was alone. I had nobody. I have children, but they are far away. And I was just there by myself, and I was thinking, Father, why now? Now is the time that I really need him because of my circumstances, right? And God didn't really answer me because he knew why, right? Because he placed people in my position. The year before, my grandson died most tragically, and I still can't get over that, you know, but I was never depressed. You know why? I always ask God to keep me. Father God, you are my Father. You know what I'm going through. Don't leave me alone. You promised not to leave me. And somehow I overcome it. When I lie down in the night and the thoughts come to me, I start to pray and ask God to take away. Even one night I catch myself, Father God, take away this cup. I don't want it. You know, and I was really, really sad, but not depressed at a stage that I want to kill myself. No way, because I know if I did that, I would never see the face of God. So I always take courage in God and his words and the legacy that Christ left behind us, that he will always be there with us. You know, so the sadness I was going through, I know that was a process, because the Bible talk about sorrow today and in the morning a bright future. So I, not in exactly those words there, but what I am saying is God really brought me through this, and he's still bringing me through this. A lot of people don't understand, as you say, you're smiling and you're happy. Yeah, you're happy most of the time. But when you're by yourself, you're sad. It's a really, really sad situation. And lately I've turned to my phone because I find people who would pray with me and I feel good, you know. But saying this to say God will never leave us, but we still have those sad moments when we need the human aspect of life to keep us going.
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Somebody asked the question, what does the Bible say about depression? Or does it say anything at all about depression?
Well, do you remember that chap who, after he did his wondrous, the prophet, that he did that wonderful performance, and God's name was celebrated, and when he heard that he was about to lose his life, what he did? Huh? Come on, church. What did he do? Huh? Did he not run? And did he not want to hide and yes. So he had a period, he had a traumatic period. He got depressed. So depression is in the Bible, but it's not described. If you read Psalms, you'll find that David had periods of depression in his life. It could not have been a nice experience to be so close to Saul and then for him to pursue you and trying to kill you on every time, every toss and turn, wherever. So you read the Psalms, you find that there are many examples of depression in the Bible. It might not have been spoken of in the terms that we describe it as a mental condition in our 21st century, but there are many cases in the Bible where people were depressed. One more. Yes? Yeah. Yes. Yes, sir. Oh, this is the last question I've been told.
Well, just now you share the experience of, and this would be experience accumulated over years, I guess, of reaching out to people or attempting to reach out to people with the Bible when they are experiencing depression or grief, as the case may be. And you're saying that, yes, people should empathize with the person rather than attempt to use the Bible.
No, I said you should start
by empathy.
By that's it. And then you use your Bible. That's what I said.
Okay. I'm wondering whether you want to additionally put some additional qualities on that, and perhaps you can say that people may want even to use the Bible as they empathize with the person. You see, it is the perspective they share from the Bible that will sound the depths of their empathy. The Bible is replete with experiences that cover the myriads of incidents and accidents that the human sojourn may encounter. And as a consequence, I am seeing that there may be the chance that somebody could be discouraged from using the Bible even as they empathize. And because the Bible is so holistic, and I am wondering whether it could be the perspective. If we are trying to reach out to people who are in grief and depression, and we are trying to share a message that makes them feel they are responsible for their grief and depression in a way in which they may be feeling guilty, or that is something need to be repented of, that is a problem. So I don't know if you want to attach additional qualifications to what you were saying.
No, I say this, you see, there is a tricky aspect to this. We are all Adventist Christians. So we think like Adventist Christians. But other people don't think the way we think. You must remember that. And therefore, when you go out there, you will encounter people who have a different perspective. But they are human beings. So the thing that you need to touch is their humanness. When you touch their humanness, that opens up. You know, it's like Jesus. When he was moving around, what did he do? Did he not heal people first? And then. So we have to be very careful that we understand a person's situation and we address the situation. Now, we have at the university, every year, we have 20 to 30 persons that we are training as international counselors, psychological counselors. The first course in the program is Christian counseling. But we also tell them that we as human beings, there is something that's common to all of us, irrespective of our color, right? And you will find that I can only speak from my experience, my brother. I have found that when I can first relate to you and what you're experiencing, it gives me an avenue. And I was born in this church till my old age. And I have found that to be a very good avenue through which they then become very receptive to understanding where you are. So I am not discounting the Bible, and I am not removing it as a standard from which we should use, but I'm saying that when you step out there into the streets, you meet all types of people. People on drugs, people who are suicidal, people who are doing all kinds of things. And I can give you so many experiences. And then when you can say to them, okay, here's a meal, here's an item of clothing, and you sit down and you empathize with them, and they tell you their pain and their suffering. Then it creates you start to develop a relationship, and then you can begin. That is my humble suggestion. Thank you. May Lord bless you. Okay, someone has a burning question, and there's a lady up there with her hands. I don't know who has had her hands up.
Okay, this question I think probably affects every one of us within the church. It sounds like a church problem, I guess. It says, I've been hurt so many times in the past. When I recall all my negative experiences, I get depressed or get angry with others. How do I move forward?
Okay, I hear there's something behind that question. You know what happens to us as Christians in the church? We get angry with others, and we blame others for our emotional state. Now, I'm going to say something which is a bit unusual, but I'm going to say it anyway because I believe it. No one can make you angry. Whenever you get angry, it's your choice. Okay? So in the church, people will say things, they will do things, and then you get angry, and you get upset. And then because you're angry and upset with a church brother or sister, you decide you're not coming to church anymore. But why were you coming to church in the first place? Because of the brother or the sister, or to serve the Lord? Amen. So, yes, you're going to have trials and tribulations and angst and all these kind of things with individuals within the church. Amen. But you must remember that your priority when you come here is to serve the Lord. And you just commit those individuals with whom you have issues to the Lord in prayer and let Him sort them out. Yes, ma'am.
Pleasant Sabbath, everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Sister Dionathan asked a question earlier, and you said you answered in your own way. The first question. Now, when people suffer like death and everything else, like some kind of trauma, I think the first thing as a Christian we just do is pray and ask God for directions. Because When I lost my husband, I couldn't take somebody come to tell me, yes, girl, you know, God will provide and you're trying to be okay. You know, a sister coming to hug and say, girl, I'm supporting you all the way. That meant more than you telling me some text in the Bible, as much as I was in the Lord. Then, to deal with my children, knowing the father died, the first thing I have to do is ask God to comfort their hearts and give me the wisdom to deal with them. So in all, it's not just going with the Bible. They will just go, it come like when they was going to stone the woman, Jesus could have just said the woman was under depression, because here it is, they was going to stone this lady because she was found in adultery. So the first step, I think, as a Christian, you realize that people suffering certain things, they first must ask God for his direction.
Okay, thank you. Now, let me just give you one interesting story. Now, I am a professional counselor, and people come with all kinds of problems. Problems that, I don't know, I can't even begin to think. The first thing I do is I ask them if they have any objection to me praying. You know why? Why do you think I do that? I do that because I want to respect the person. Because some people are not Christian. Some people do not want to be prayed for. And that because of their religion or their beliefs or whatever. So the first thing I do is I ask them if they have any objection to me praying. If they say they do, I normally say to them, okay, let's bow our heads, and we'll bow our heads for a minute, and that's when I pray. But I will not pray aloud to offend that person. You understand? You see, it's, you have to understand, and very often we don't, you have to understand diversity, you have to understand people, and you have to understand how to access people, right? So when I tell you what I've said, I've given you my personal experience. Because I work as a professional counselor, I work as a professor in psychology, and I also work in the area of being a Christian counselor. So you have to know how to marry these various roles so that at the end of the hour with that person, they leave feeling mightily relieved and having a different perspective on life. There is no silver bullet to sort out all the problems in the world. But I will concur with everybody that, yes, a deep understanding and appreciation of the way the Lord works in an individual's lives is a sure way to help. Thank you very much. Oh, so another question? Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Yes, sir.
I don't want to belabor the point, but I am also aware that we in Assembly Adventist culture, and
I missed that. When you say that we are?
This is Assembly Adventist culture.
Yeah.
And there are other cultures too. There's the Hindu culture and the Muslim culture and the people in Saudi Arabia and so on. And they all reach out in their cultures to people who have grief, pain, etc., right? Just now you were saying that when we reach out to people, sometimes we want to reach out to them as Assembly Adventists. And listen, the responses tells me that there are two lines running through the minds of people. That Assembly Adventist is probably boo and taboo, and that you can't empathize with people if you are Assembly Adventist. So that what was coming through to me is that empathy is different from Assembly Adventism. You hear what I'm saying? That empathy, no. Jesus empathized with people when he healed them, whatever. But you are still Jesus. And what I wanted you to simply qualify is, or to look at broadly, is that there is the possibility that a person could empathize with the next person who in grief or depression though they are using their Bible to the start. And it is not necessarily that the person has to be an Adventist. If the person is guided by the Spirit, then all that we do as Assembly Adventists, because we better don't approach people as anything else. If we approach them at all to help them, help will only come if we do that through Jesus Christ. And so therefore, if the Spirit is guiding, the Spirit will guide the person, and we can't go with a rule that say, hey, don't take the Bible because you know you're going as Assembly Adventist and the person won't know Adventist thing. But we were hearing loud amens as if there was clear understanding. And that's what I'm distraught about. Because sometimes we hear amens and people like they're not listening. I always go for the broad view of things, the wide view of things. And rather we are not to narrow things down to an experience that sounds like what is generally accepted. All persons, we must empathize with them in the way in which it would best be soothing to them. You agree with that? That's psychology. In the way in which it will reach their need. And we can only do that as the Spirit is guiding.
Thank you. Okay, the mic is coming. The mic is coming. You know, I'm not the one that's constraining the timer. It's just I'm being...
I want to make this point. Now, the Bible is our guide. If we look in the Bible, we recognize that, I think, in my remembrance, there are two places, I think, where the word extremely sorrowful was used. If we could explain that, all well and good. But Jesus himself, at one time, said that he was extremely sorrowful. What was the method Jesus used to relate to that? First of all, he told his disciples, come with me. In other words, I need you from a physical point of view to be there with me first thing. So when depression is there, to be there is the first solution from a human point of view to help the person. And then Jesus said to them, pray with me. So what are the two solutions to this whole thing of depression? It's being there and praying with the individual. That's Jesus' method of relating to depression. Thank you very much.
Right. So we are all saying the same thing. Family support, church support, whichever support it is, it's important. Okay. Okay. I was going to talk about treatment, but the brother rounded off the whole concept of treatment. So I think that in the interest of time, that we will stop there. I prepared a very comprehensive, it's just unfortunate that we are time bound. And we could have talked about the various types of treatment, both the standard treatment, the spiritual treatment, and all the various types of treatments, but we put them all together. So I would just like to thank you for inviting me to make this presentation. It has been a very inspiring occasion for us to interact and to exchange views, and we all do this and we give God the praise. Amen.
Dr. Clark, well, I know you just thank persons for having you here, but on behalf of the La Joquita Seventh-day Adventist Church, we want to thank you very much for taking the time out to give us information in terms of how to notice when somebody is depressed and how to deal with depression. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Good morning, church. So, as most of you all know, over the Easter vacation, I got the opportunity to go to my first Pathfinder Camporee in Dominican Republic. So this is a short presentation on my experience there. Right. This was the first picture I took. This was arriving to Dominican Republic at 1 a.m. in the morning. And I left Trinidad around 5 p.m. the day before. And we had to stop in Panama, then we have to go to Dominican Republic. And reaching there, I was really excited because I was like, okay, I'm gonna meet Spanish people, you know. I was really excited. And boarding the bus in Dominican Republic, it was about half an hour drive to get to the campgrounds. And when we reached there, it was a really big park. And when we finally jump out of the bus, they say, okay guys, we have 15 minutes to walk in the park to reach to the first building where we'll have to sleep for the night. Because we reached to the camping grounds about 1:30. So we finally reached to the place and everything black in the building. And I saw a man, a security guard with the flashlight, and I say, excuse me, where are we going to sleep? And he said, no hablo English. And I was like, what? So this place black, and this man can't even speak English, and I'm like, where are we going to sleep? So that night, in the same grounds, it was like a stadium. So we went to the middle of the stadium, and we put our bags in a rectangular formation, like shape, and we all put our bags there, and we slept in that until, we went and sleep like about 3 o'clock, and by 6 o'clock we was up to pitch our tent, which was really, because after that long plane ride, we had to get up 6 o'clock. Next one. Right, this was a view from the plane when we was in Panama. This was arriving to Dominican Republic Airport, and one of the Spanish girls right there, she was really excited. She was like, oh my God, you're from Trinidad, can I have a picture? And she had her flag and everything, so we took a picture there. That was the Trinidad group. This was pitching my tent at 6 a.m. in the morning. And that morning, after I finished pitch my tent, they say, okay, we are going for breakfast. So I say, okay, cool. When I reached for breakfast, we got provision and cheese and egg, which was really new to me because for breakfast, you usually have bake and stuff when we go to camp. So it was really new having provision for breakfast. So these are some pictures of the Camporee grounds. Go ahead. Oh, that was the theme of the camp itself. That was the entrance gate where we first came in, which was like half an hour walking from where we actually got to pitch our tent. And this is a picture of all the Caribbean, countries that were present there. So they had the American division, how to put it, boy? They had the Caribbean, and then they had the different, the Spanish division is made up of plenty areas. So that is a map of everybody who was there, the different countries. And that is some of the food that we got. That was those were the first few friends that I made. They came from Aruba, and meeting them made me realize that I need to pay attention in my language class in school more, because those people, they spoke French, Spanish, Papiamento, and 5 languages that girl alone spoke. So it was really interesting getting to interact with them. More food. That was us going for our honors. Mexican people. That is my friend from St. Martin and the British Virgin Islands, Bahamas, Colombia. Oh, this was going to the water park. That was in the water park itself. That was the group of us from Trinidad who went to the water park. Mind you, it was like 600 of us going to the water park that day, out of the 13,000 people who was present at the camping. That was the pool it had. It had a 10-feet pool actually, which was really great. That was the water slide. And, wait, go back. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. That was the opening ceremony. That was Guyana, Colombia, Dominican Republic, a little boy from Dominican Republic, Mexico, Aruba. That was the opening night with everyone who was present in the campery itself. And we got to run around the stadium with our flags screaming Trinidad. That was pizza the night. Those were stuff from the historical exhibit we went to with stuff from the Bible. So they had coins from the Bible and stuff from the Canaanites and stuff. Right, that was a drill down competition. They had those were from the historical site. That was the Trinidad clan. Okay. Right. So I am ever so grateful to have had the opportunity to get to travel to Dominican Republic for my first camping. I am thankful for those who supported me and prayed for me while I was gone. I'll never forget the many nights of rhythm section, the long walks to get to one place, the early morning worship sessions with other people from the Caribbean, learning new songs, and getting to interact with people from many languages. It was a great experience that I'll always have embedded in my memory. It really impacted me, and I learned that we are in the last days, and we need to come together, more as Christians, and let our light shine before men. Thank you.
Good morning, church, and happy Sabbath. These are the announcements for Sabbath, the 6th of May, 2017. Meet and pray continues tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. right here at the church. Don't forget that AY Youth Fellowship continues at 4 p.m. right here at the church. Music classes continues tomorrow from 9 a.m. Our Sunday and Wednesday night services continues at 6:30 p.m. and 7 p.m. respectively, right here at the church. Come with faith and be blessed. Pathfinder meeting continues this Sabbath at 4 p.m. All Pathfinders are reminded to walk with your workbooks, notebooks, Bibles, and pens. Let us all come in support as well of the Pathfinders who will be hosting a fundraiser tomorrow morning from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. right here at the church. On a very sad note, Emily Lockhart, Sister Phyllis's mother, has passed away on Tuesday, the 2nd of May. The funeral service will be held on Monday, the 8th at Digomarting Seventh-day Adventist Church. It starts at 11 a.m. The burial will be taking place at the Tunapuna Cemetery. Also, Brother Eric Young's mother, who is also Brother Nigel Nichols' grandmother, also passed away on Tuesday the 2nd. Please let's keep their families in our prayers. Please continue to support our food and clothing drive. You can place your foodstuff in a barrel at the front of the church. Church board meeting is carded for the 21st of May at 4 p.m. All men, please be reminded of your commitment to the Health and Family Life Program carded for May the 4th, 2017. For more information, please see Melissa Primer-Skur, Alana Edwards, or Sister Irvin. All mothers, or all women in general, you are cordially invited to an all-day pampering spa experience, restoring the Queen in you through Christ. This will take place on May the 14th, 2017, right here at the church. Stay tuned for further information. The church is in the process of updating its membership information. Our church clerks will be coming to you for some relevant information. Your cooperation will be greatly appreciated. All roads lead to Maloney Indoor Facility on May the 20th at 4 p.m. for an evening of fellowship with our Maloney brethren, after which we will continue our fellowship with a social. AY Society also invites everyone to fellowship at the Casa de Corazon home on May the 27th, after which we head to Matura for turtle watching. Plan to be there. Coming from the La Hakata SCA Drama Group, all persons who are interested in joining the group can add their names to the list on the notice board. Drama Group meeting will be held today at 3 p.m. All interested persons are asked to attend. All persons aged 16 to 100, you are interested in joining Master Guides Club are asked to see Sister Dion Ogiskill after midday service. We also have a camp coming up, and that is concerning the AY Society of La Hakata. It presents Camp Blanchishes. The date is June the 16th to the 19th, 2017. The venue is the Blanchishes Government Primary School. It's for adults and children. You'll see the notice board for further details concerning that. We all should remember to keep giving to the Myrtle Space Project. Yes, it is towards saving lives. You can see Sister Cheryl Pierre in the back. She has if you turn around, you'll see that's where you're putting your donations, and that's very much appreciated. Sunset time, for next Sabbath are Friday the 12th of May, 6:20 p.m., and Sabbath the 13th of May, 6:20 p.m. All announcements as well as upcoming events are posted weekly on a notice board for for your information. Okay, thought for the week. God will open doors that no man can shut. You just need to be ready to walk through them. Have a safe, loving, and blessed week. I am. Okay, so I'm inviting Sister Kafi to come up at this moment.
Happy Sabbath. Okay, that sounds so nice. Everybody had a good week in Jesus' name. All right. Now, coming from evangelism and mission team, we just want you to know that we have an open air next Sabbath afternoon. That's between phase 4 and 6. Open air. So get ready for next Sabbath. We'll tell you exactly where that location is next Sabbath. So get ready with all your friends and families, and we all go down to somewhere between phase 4 and 6. And also, we are reminding the action units to identify a senior person in your phase. A very senior person, because we really want that person to experience our warmth and our love here from